Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our match reaction show. And you can see with the beaming smile on my face because it's finished Manchester United 2, Barcelona 1. And breathe, because that you know what? It is scant consolation to Barcelona, but I think over the two legs, we've probably seen one of the fun. In my lifetime, I've rarely seen two legs of football like this. I mean, it is one of the best two-legged knockout ties that I've seen. And I know it's not a consolation to Barcelona fans, but it's a fantastic, fantastic game. And if we get more such games and more such ties in the Europa League, I think this could very well be one of the more exciting editions of the competition because it is fantastic to watch. To start off with, I think Xavi corrected a lot of the wrongs that he made in the first leg. I think the biggest one was the fact that Balde didn't start in that game, and I was not sure why Balde didn't start in that game, but he started today, and I think he needs to start. I think he's a phenomenal player, and yes, he faded away in the second half, like most of the Barcelona players. But in that first half, I thought he was the difference maker from that first leg, just in the way that Barcelona controlled the game. Because I don't think Alba is really at that level anymore. But Balde is, because the amount of space that he was getting on the left hand side was just unbelievable. He always seemed to be taking on wan-Bissaka. He always seemed to be free on the left hand side, which brings me to Ten Hag, because he got it wrong in that first half. He got it wrong. As much as he could have got wrong, he got wrong. For one, I think Weghorst as a striker didn't work. Sancho as a number 10 didn't work. Bruno as the right winger didn't work. And you could say that Fred starting in midfield also didn't work. But that changes, of course. But that he got a lot wrong. And of course, having Rashford not playing as a central striker, I think was probably also the mistake there as well. So there were mistakes. I think also not starting Christensen in the last game for Xavi was also something that he made, and he made amends with that. And I thought, those were changes I think he had to make, just defensively giving them that solidity that was meant to be given to them, but was something that was important, and he did that. Of course, I mean, Busquets back also helped Barcelona. I think just the fact that it allows De Jong to play a little bit further up, and he looked much better in the first half as compared to the last game. So he ran that game in the first half because he was playing in that advanced role. That goal, was it a penalty for Barcelona? You know what? It wasn't. I think it wasn't. It was a harsh decision. But I think Bruno doesn't help himself, because if there's two occasions where their elbows get tangled. The first angle is not a penalty, is just nothing. And if Bruno takes his elbow, if he's smart enough to get his elbow out there, that's not a penalty. The problem is, because his elbow is left in there, and because Balde turns around, it makes it look like Bruno is the one who's pulled him down. So Bruno doesn't help himself. But if he was a little bit smart and he pulls his elbow out, it won't be a penalty. But he didn't do it, and therefore the ref thought, okay, yeah, he's pulled him down. I can see why it was given. It was the wrong decision, of course, but I can see why the ref thought that might have been the case. But it was a harsh penalty. But when Lewandowski was taking, I was going to say, I think either he's going to miss it, or De Gea is going to help him by making his making a wrong move or something. Like I didn't think Lewandowski was confident taking that penalty, and it showed that penalty wasn't a good penalty. The only thing that helps him is that De Gea slips before he makes the save, because if he doesn't slip, he's going to pull it off, because he's kind of reaching for it with his arm. If you watch the penalty again, because he slips a little bit, so he can't dive as much as he can. If he doesn't slip, he saves that, because it wasn't a good penalty at all. But Barcelona got the lead, a little bit lucky there. It's 1-0, and having got so much of Barcelona this season, you always feel that if they go 1-0 up, they generally win the game, because they don't concede a lot of goals, do they? And I thought, okay, if this game continues the way it was in the first half, then they would have won the game. I think Barcelona will also rue the fact that when they have made that errant pass, they didn't capitalize on that. If that had gone in 2-0, I think game would have been over right there. But the fact that it was 1-0 at halftime gave Ten Hag the opportunity to make the changes that he needed to make. And boy, what changes did he make? Just one change. Again, like Leicester, he just made one change, and all he did was he took the Weghorst off, brought on Anthony, and immediately the dynamic changed, because suddenly you had Rashford playing as a striker, so now you've got pace in behind, which they needed. You've got you've got Sancho, who's creative, and he's on the left, and he can do a lot more than he can do as a number 10 on the left wing. I still don't know what his best position is for this team, but it's difficult to say. But at least on the left wing, he looked a little bit better. Anthony, obviously, as a left-footed right winger, makes sense. And then Bruno played in his best position as a number 10 from where he can actually dictate play. So I thought the one change, sometimes just one personnel change, was important. And I actually thought, you know what, he should not have played Weghorst. I would have played Garnacho to start. If Anthony wasn't ready to start, I would have played Garnacho, because if Weghorst is good enough, if Bruno is going to play on the right anyway, then you might as well play Garnacho and play Rashford as a striker, because there's no point in playing Weghorst there. And I do believe that Weghorst's time as a starter may now He'll probably start games and he'll come on in games. I don't think he'll ever be the sort of, Martial's injured, so we don't have anyone, so let's put Rashford in. I don't think that will be the case anymore. I think if Rashford is fit, then and Martial is not, then Rashford will play as a striker. That's what I feel. We'll see what Ten Hag does. He always surprises us and comes up with things, but I just don't think Weghorst has it in him anymore. I think today he was quite exposed badly. His limitations. He'll press and he'll do all that, but he just isn't someone who impacts the game in an offensive sense. But then the 2 goals came. The first goal, Barcelona will be disappointed with that, right? Because they got caught a bit napping. The ball was won by Sancho, which never should have been won. If you're Barcelona, that's where Xavi is going to go. How did Sancho win that ball when we had control of the situation? Then he wins the ball back. It comes out to Rashford. Rashford passes to Bruno. It's a very straight pass to Fred. It's with his right foot. The placement of the shot is what catches Ter Stegen out, not the pace. And because he's shooting with his right foot, he didn't connect cleanly, but the placement was so good. Ter Stegen was caught out, and it's 1-1. I think Xavi will be disappointed with how that goal was conceded by them losing possession. And then from that point on, you just felt like there was like a haunted look on Xavi's face, a haunted look on Barcelona's face, because every time they had the ball, I think Barcelona just felt, okay, they've got the pace, so they were running scared. There was all sorts of things happening. They were rushing, they were panicking. The defense didn't want to hold on to the ball because they were so afraid of the press and of the pace at the back. They were trying to get rid of it quickly, and they were just losing the ball in midfield every time, or they were trying to play it long and losing it. And that, I think, and that's where an experienced manager kind of comes in and does. And Xavi still new at this level, but that's when experienced manager comes in. But they couldn't, and then eventually United got that second goal. Antony, I mean, how much criticism has he got this season? I've given him so much criticism this season, but I'll talk about that in a second as well. But I thought that goal is vindication of why Ten Hag trusts him so much. Just that performance overall, but that goal as well, because when it comes to him, again, the credit to Shaw, he keeps the ball in, but Bruno again should not be winning that ball. Again, they lose it because Raphinha should be a bit stronger. At the very least, he's got to clear it, but he just kind of goes down looking for a foul. So Bruno wins the ball. He passes it to Garnacho. Garnacho's shot isn't the best, actually. He's going near post and he should be going far post, but it comes back out, deflection, comes out to Antony. That strike is so sweet. But we've seen him score so many goals like that, haven't we? Can't even talk. But he makes it 2-1, and after that, it's just a matter of holding on and seeing the win. Antony, I think his time away has kind of probably reminded me, and I hope many of the United fans, about his importance to the team. Yes, he's very one-footed. Yes, he is someone who's going to frustrate everyone a lot. He frustrated me today as well. There were moments of frustration, but what he brings to that side and that right wing is something no other player can bring in this Manchester United team. He rarely ever loses the ball. People don't talk about this enough. He rarely ever loses the ball in midfield or in defensive situations. He rarely ever gives the ball away. Yes, he will make passes in the final third, but he never ever loses the ball. That is so important in a team like Manchester United. He's obviously, his work rate is phenomenal. When he comes back and tracks back, Balde was kept quiet in the second half because Antony started tracking back. Bruno was not able to do it as much because he's not got the pace. But when Antony was doing it, he was basically helping wan-Bissaka and then Dalu out on that right wing. So his work rate is very underrated. And whatever it is, and yes, he'll be a frustrating player. And I don't think he'll ever be an 85 million pound player. But that is not to say that he's not a critical player and an important player for this team. He's fantastic. He's phenomenal. And you just got to take the rough with the smooth with Antony. But what a performance from him today. And you know what? At the end of this all, you've got to credit Erik ten Hag as well. I think, again, and this is the difference. Yesterday, we saw Pep Guardiola and what he did, where his tactics obviously weren't working in the second half. He didn't change it. He stubbornly stuck to it, and he said, no, I'm going to keep this, and they didn't get the win. Whereas with Ten Hag, he saw it was not working. Maybe he could have changed it early. I think he probably didn't want to do it, didn't want to ruin anyone's confidence, because imagine taking someone off at like 30 minutes, but he probably could have done it then, but he still did it anyway. In the second half, he said, no, I'm taking Weghorst over, I'm bringing somebody on. He does that because that's, adaptability and flexibility is important in a manager as well. And he showed that today. And that's something. For Barcelona, I mean, they should win La Liga. I feel that. But the financial troubles are going to be a real problem. And they're out of the Champions League, out of the Europa League first round as well. I mean, they would have made some money after United games, but it is troublesome for them financially. And the fact is, they've invested a lot of money in this team. I thought when the season started, they were one of the favorites to win the Champions League, forget the Europa League. And here they are out of the Europa League as well at the first time of asking. It's a disappointing. I think it will be disappointing, the European season. And then they've got that Spanish Cup tie against Real Madrid to come. That is so important. They're going to have to win that. No matter what, I think the pressure will be immense on them to win it, because they can't afford to lose those two games. They need to go beyond that and win it. And let's see how the players respond to that. They weren't at their best in these two ties. I think that anybody can say United were the better team for large parts of the game, and they deserve that win, 4-3 on aggregate. I mean, what a fantastic result in 7 goals that we've seen. It's brilliant. And word for Fred as well. The Fred had a horrible first half, but in the second half, he was one of the best players on the pitch. He just looked, and I do believe that was because Bruno, when Bruno plays as a midfielder, I think it just helps the team a lot more than many players on the right, because Sancho is now going to do the defensive work. So Fred needs support around him to make sure that he can do what he does best. And I don't think he gets that security when Sancho or Weghorst plays in front of him. But when Bruno plays in front of him, I think he gets that security that he needs. But but Fred has become a second half player in some ways. Even in the Leicester game, he was horrible in the first half, but in the second half, he became this amazing player. And again, here has a horrible first half, then suddenly becomes this amazing player in the second half. I don't know what it is about Fred that makes him that way, but that's something. For Manchester United, of course, the big game now is this Sunday. That's the next big game. They're gonna have to play Newcastle in the cup. Hopefully, Rashford isn't too badly injured. That'll be one of the big concerns. Same for Casemiro as well. A couple of knocks. Hopefully, they'll be ready to play. That's a big game now. And if they had lost today, that very well could have had a psychological impact on them going into that game on Sunday. But now hopefully they'll take the momentum and the confidence and get a positive result against Newcastle. That's going to be a tough game, and we'll have to see how they do in that one. Anyway, smash like if you enjoyed this video. You can't really it's got to revel in this. So the worst part about being a United fan right now is that you can't even revel in big wins, right? Because this is such a big moment for United. They've twice come back. That again, another thing that nobody will be may not talk about is the fact that in both legs they came back from behind. They came back from 1-0 down, 2-2. They came back from 1-0 down, 1-2. So they've come back twice to win this tie. That's something that people are not may or may not talk about, but that shows a lot of resilience, and that shows where the team is at. And it's just phenomenal. But the fact is that it's such a big win, but you can't celebrate right now, because in 2 days you got to do this all over again in the Carabao Cup, and then another couple of days you got to do it all over again in the FA Cup as well, and then again in Liverpool as Target 6. There's so many big games coming right one after the other, and but yeah, maybe take a moment. Let's take a moment to celebrate. Let's take a moment to revel. If you're a United fan, if you're a Barcelona fan, commiserations. But it's. If you look at the whole game, I mean, the issues, and those issues have been there in European football this season. They weren't good against Inter Milan. They weren't good against Bayern Munich. They haven't been good against Manchester United. Things are needed. The question is, will they have the time, and will they have the money to be able to implement the changes that they need to make ahead of the next European season, which is next season? But I mean, that's a question for another day, isn't it? Anyway, smash a like if you enjoyed this video. Smash a like for Manchester United winning, of course, and do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Appreciate your support. Got more things coming this weekend, of course, another big round of games. So please do subscribe so you get notified the videos that drop. Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon. Bye bye.